Right, so in the previous version of the ESP32 Focuser, there were major changes made to the Arduino ESP32 core to make it more compatible with the IDF versions coming out of Espressif. That meant that the core size, when Wi-Fi was included, was about 20 to 24%, and the remaining 60% was used by the code for the Focuser. However, in the change, the Wi-Fi side of the core jumped from 24 to nearly 60% or higher, depending upon what else was included, which meant it became basically impossible to run that on an ESP32 Deb device. So there was a hunt for a new chip, and I looked at a wide range of chips, CH models, all sorts of stuff, and finally decided on this one, which is the ESP32s3 N16R8. N16 means it's got 16 megabytes of flash memory compared to the 4 megabytes of memory on the previous ESP32 Dev. The R8 stands for the 8 megabytes of PS RAM that's also available for use. This is a 44 pin device, whereas the previous one we were using was 30 pins, meaning that because all there's been huge changes in pinouts, we were no longer able to use this as a drop-in replacement for the ESP32 Dev, and the result of that meant redesigning all new boards based on this S3 44 pin device. And here you can see the pin layout: PB1 push button 1, PB2 push button 2, LED in, LED out, temp, high position switch, etc. Sorry, home position switch, etc. And on the right hand side we have others as well. And those pins that are designated here, they are the same pins used on every board. So the pins don't change when you move from one board to another board, and that makes a lot of things simpler by doing it that way. So very quickly we'll have a look at the various servers that are available on this S3 version of the Focuser. This is the management server running on port 6060. It's familiar to everybody that has used the previous project, except there's a significant more number of options available on the management server, and when we actually generate the firmware we'll have a look in detail at these things as well. It also supports MVSN, which allows you to use a name instead of a IP address. Here we've got the IP address and port number, but here we can actually use a name to reference the Focuser, so we don't have to try and remember what the IP address is. That's an option, by the way. MVSN is an option that you enable when you generate the firmware. We also have OTA, and there are two different OTA types. This is a standalone OTA server which is running on port 9999, and to access it I go to that port number and type in /update, and you can upload firmware and file systems quite easily remotely if required. We also have the standard web server, which should be familiar to all those doing previous projects. In terms of applications which are supported, you can do this on your Android or Mac phone. You can run an ASCOM driver, you can use INDI, you can use a Linux app which is provided, you can use a Windows app provided, the ASCOM drivers are provided, curl or Python as well can be used to query the TCP/IP server and get information back. So you can set settings within the Focuser or change them by using these external tools like curl and Python. So here we've got the Android application which is running, and you can see there we've got the position, we've got the temperature and so on. This is the actual ASCOM driver. It allows you to specify the address. So first you click the connection tab, the address, the port, and click OK, and that connects you. We've got the Linux application, which is like this, and much the same things, of course. You need to compile this using Lazarus. And we've also got INDI, so this is INDI running. And we've got a Windows app as well, which is similar. This is the S3 app, so it's only applicable to the S3 Focuser. Right. So what sort of devices does the Focuser support? Well, first up there's a display, and it's a 4-wire connection to the PC board, J12. There's a home position switch which you wire to J6. The diagrams for the TZT board and the terminal adapter board are sort of similar. It'll show you how to wire these things. There are, of course, joystick support, and mentioning the joystick, also there is an inbuilt in the firmware a calibration routine. We'll show you that later. Push button wirings, of course, temperature probe, all these things stock standard. Joysticks not available on the TZT boards or the terminal adapter boards. You could probably retrofit it if you wanted to. So all the various features, you've got the standard backlash, home position switch, all of those things as is on the previous Focuser. Now before we go much further, what I'd really recommend is to create a project folder, and here I've got an example with various directories, Arduino to hold the IDE and all the libraries and everything else you've got, the ASCOM driver, the various boards that you want to download, documents folder, firmware, Linux and Windows folders. And the idea is to create this project folder and download all the respective files from them. And if I was to, let's go and have a look at here we go. I'm on the project site now, so I can go into files, for example, and I can go into documents, and I know that I need part 1 and part 2, and I'm going to have a look at the comms protocol. This critical focus zone spreadsheets are useful, stepper motor information is useful, and see if the calculations for the critical focus zone to decide what step size you need, therefore what stepper motor you need, and possible gearing. All those things are there, so you download them and put them into the documents folder. And we also have the firmware folder, we got the boards folder, and let's say I was building the, let's go TZT, there's the information zip file, so you download that. You'd also want whichever one, let's say I was using the ULN 2003, that's the wiring diagram, so download that, and that's what you need. Next we'd have a look at, we might want the ASCOM driver, so what we would do is we'd download that ASCOM driver, and there it is, a zip file, and we download that, and we download the ASCOM user guide. So you got this sort of idea now, and we'd put all of those into our project folders, and once we got those, the next thing would be to extract all the zip files and run the installers. This is my project folder for this S3 project, and I've created the various folders. I've gone, for example, to the Arduino website, arduino.cc, and I've gone to the software downloads and I've downloaded this, and I've run the installer. This is a exe file, and I've run that, so that's now on my system. I've downloaded the ASCOM drivers from the ASCOM folder, and I've run this and installed it, and I've downloaded the ASCOM app tester and I've installed that as well. So I've got all those files and I've installed them. The boards, I was only interested in the TZT and using a ULN 2003, so I extract all of this. And there are all the files that I need. Parts folder, pins folder, spreadsheets, documents folder. I've got downloaded all of these and extracted them. The firmware, I've extracted the firmware zip file, and this is what I've got. For Linux, I've downloaded, because I also like to use INDI, I downloaded all of these things. Right, so this is the Windows folder, and I've downloaded the zip file, then I extracted it, and I've got the installer here called setup.exe, etc. And when a new version comes out, you should put it in the same folder and run the installer from that same folder. If you put it in a different folder, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to install it, because Windows will not allow you to install the same app or an upgrade to the same app from a different folder. Right, so there are a whole heap of videos, and I'm actually making videos right now to go with the new Focuser. These are the old ones, which still can give you some pretty good information. In order to get help, I'm going to cover help in detail. Alright, so we'll talk about how you get help, what to look at, how you can enable debugging and all those types of things. There is a discussion group on the project website. You go to discussion, click on general discussion, create a topic, etc., and you put stuff in there. If you create a topic, please don't turn around and create a topic for every single thing that you find, because when you create a topic, it should be for one specific thing. Alright? And any future ones you find, you should put them under the same topic, because that becomes a thread and it's easier for me to know who that sort of belongs to and what to respond to. And so next up we'll have a look at some hardware in detail.